have two very special guests here with me today as we are getting ready for Election Day on November 5th on Tuesday, right? And that's the last day to vote. You can still vote early. We just want to make sure we stress that because that's my plan, just so nothing goes wrong if I can go as early as possible. But Dr. Yusef Salaam is here and Jasiri X is here with us today. And we are talking about They Not Like Us, a summit on Black and brown men and the vote.
Yes.
Okay, we were just talking about being inside the plan. I would love for you to say what you said to make a young woman who's never voted before decide to go out and vote.
So we had this summit on Tuesday in Pittsburgh, a summit on Black and brown men in the vote. We had Fat Joe, we had Bun B, Corday, Dr. Yusef Salaam. We had Viola Davis because we had to bring, Black women into that conversation as well. And so we had a young woman ask a question. And really what the young woman was saying was she grew up in a very religious household and was told as a young person the separation of church and state. Like we don't do anything for the government. We just do stuff for God. So she had never voted. And so she was asking, like, what do you say to somebody like me? And Dr. Yusef Salaam talked about how we're inside of this plan. Do you want to break down what you said?
Like that's, to me, it becomes so clear once you're behind the curtain on this side, right? Being so close to the pain, being in pain, being one of those who've been run over by the spike wheels of justice. And then now to say, oh, shucks. I used to say the system is broken. I used to say racism is alive and well. And then my elders had to remind me, no, the system is not broken. It's operating exactly as it was designed in the minds of the people that created it. The fact that racism is alive, it's alive and sick. And so what I was trying to get at was the fact that we are right now inside of someone else's plan. And that plan is not like, okay, we got a plan for them for the weekend.
Right.
They got a weekend plan for us,
yes.
right? Spend that check and get it right back. That check don't be coming back, right? They got a plan for us that literally supersedes our lifetimes with an S.
Right.
And if we're not aware and we're not planning in opposition, but also in positivity for ourselves, then we fall victim in the worst way because it's a long road. Like it's literally like we want change now.
Yeah.
And change is not necessarily now, but the change that happens now is the fact that you do something, you live your life on purpose, and with a purpose, you add to the greater good.
And Dr. Yusef Salaam, you are one of the exonerated five. Yes. Oh, man. And it's such a pleasure to have you up here today. Imagine being part of the system that, like you said, did exactly what it was supposed to do, right, and operated the way that it was. And I see that you are now suing Donald Trump for defamation, rightfully so, because
yes.
he just says things that aren't even factually correct.
Yeah.
And even decades later, after taking out that huge ad, calling for the death penalty at the time for the quote-unquote Central Park Five, he still cannot to this day admit that what he did was wrong or even apologize. Like, what is, like, can't you just say, because first of all, there was no reason for him to even do that. I don't even know why you're spending money taking out an ad when there's so many things going on in this world. That's the thing you focused on. But then he also said that you all pled guilty and killed someone.
That's right.
Which is not even true.
Yeah. Didn't even happen.
Yeah,
so just for everybody listening,
both
because people who are listening, in case they don't know the details of what happened in this defamation suit, just give us a quick rundown.
Yeah, the thing about it is that this is not about, a smear on his campaign or any of that, right?
Not at all.
What it is the exonerated five have been smeared. Our good names have been smeared. He said during the presidential debate, the only debate that was held, that we pled guilty and that we killed the person.
Right.
And
how do you just make that up in a presidential debate and don't want to be fact checked?
Well, the thing about it is this, and that's the part that's really concerning, how when you put those types of things out in the world, like when he put that ad in New York City's newspapers 35 years ago, that wasn't just, oh, you know what, I just want to pay $85,000 to run an ad. That was a whisper into the darkest places of society for them to do to us what they did to Emmett Till. They were hoping that we would be murdered.
Right.
Because we were accused of something. And the accusation didn't even fall really into the proper context of American law, which states you are innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
So they looked at the color of our skin and said, nah, these guys are guilty. Just like when they went, and this is crazy, the connection in terms of Emmett Till. when you look at the footage, when the jurors were interviewed afterwards, they were asked, like, what took y'all so long to come back with a guilty verdict? And one of the jurors said, well, we knew we were going to vote innocent, but we just wanted to take a soda pop break so that we could appear to be doing our jobs.
Right.
You think about that in the context of American law and how overwhelmingly black people in particular, brown people in general, we make up the prison industrial complex.
True.
The whole strategy, of course, as well, is one, to have us so jaded by the process we don't even want to participate. Because imagine if the disenfranchised community gets an opportunity to participate on a high level again.
Right.
Game over.
Yeah, game over.
Because we are like a large population of people. And we got to be able to look at this thing right now. That's why I'm telling people you can't vote in any presidential election or any local election and think it's about just that time frame. No, we are talking about what is the future like. How do we push ourselves not just into the next 4 years, but way beyond that? What am I going to leave my children's children?
Right.
Is democracy still going to be in America?
Right.
And when you talk about that disenfranchised population, that's why we began to use hip hop. This is why we wanted to use hip hop as a way to speak directly to those individuals that oftentimes aren't spoken to in this election. We've been doing that in Pittsburgh. Our organization, One Hood Media, is based in Pittsburgh. So just to give you the demographics, Pittsburgh is 25% black. When we start to mobilize around civic engagement, voter education, and using hip hop to speak specifically to our community, in 2021 we elected Pittsburgh's first black mayor in the history, in Ed Gainey. In 2020, and also in 2021 we elected 5 progressive judges, all women, 3 black women. Every judge in Pennsylvania, you vote in the office. In 2022 we elected the first black congresswoman in Pennsylvania's history. No disrespect to Philly, but it was Western PA. It was Pittsburgh and Summer Lee. And in 2023, our civic engagement director, who built our political engagement strategy, who's also a rapper, Kahari Mosley, is now my city councilman. And so when we talk about November 5th and it's a presidential election, yes, but there's also elections down ballot. And so we have to, to me, I feel like we're taught voting backwards. Like your vote actually has the most power locally. Like it has like in a national election, you have millions of voters. Some of these school board races, it might be 200, 300, 400 votes. And you could have somebody on that school board. In Pittsburgh, our school board's budget is larger than our city's budget. So a school board member is actually negotiating more money than somebody on city council. And so this is why all of those races matter. And so we try to talk about voting in terms of like, we're using this. We're not going to liberate ourselves with a vote, but we can build community power, and we could then pass policies that directly affect our communities for the better.
And I always think it's important when you see people who you think would be great in office, who are great community leaders, to encourage them to run. Money's important when it comes to having a campaign and helping finance that. And even if we can only give $5, $10, whatever it is, those things really do matter to show that type of support and who you would want to represent you.
I'm going to tell you a funny story because I didn't want Yusef to run for office because this is my friend. I've known his brother because I was actually scared, right? Because he's such a good person.
Ooh, you don't want politics to ruin him.
Yeah, New York politics. And I'm like, man, Yusef, But you're exact, Angela, you're exact. Like, he's the person that should be there because we know he has the morals and that spiritual base, and he's one of us. So we know he's going to go there and put us first and not himself first. And so when he won, I kind of felt bad because I was like, are you sure about that, brother? And so I'm so happy. So now he's an example for us. So we're in Pittsburgh, like, where are our Yusefs? Where are those individuals that always put our community first?
So you might be perhaps running for office.
Probably not, but I will support whoever decides to run for office. Yes, definitely.
I'm going to tell you what about that, right? So for me, and I love this because I always say, look, I didn't study political science, right? I went to jail. So being in pain, being close to the pain, we often heard people say those who have been close to the pain should have a seat at the table.
Right.
When you can articulate the issue, what is it, Dr. James Baldwin? I'm going to call him doctor, right?
Yes.
He said the victim ceases to be the victim when they can articulate themselves correctly. Now they become a threat. But the threat is to the system, right? So therefore, politics is politricks. Yes, it's always been that. That's what we created. We gave that definition and birthed it out of our community. But I always say, look, I'm not a politician. Therefore, this will not be politics as usual. Because I'm literally holding myself accountable. And I'm trying to make sure that I govern with the moral compass that says, look, I'm always being watched by the great creator. And at the end of the day, what I do with this moment matters so much more. Those young people who are saying to themselves, you mean that's possible? Like I could run for office? What we usually do, and this is part of the challenge, is that we usually vote and then we go back to our lives.
Right.
We can it's no longer suitable for us to do that. We have to vote and we have to be engaged and we have to understand and research. When you talked about the school boards,
right.
I mean, literally, folks don't really know how we move things forward.
Right.
Education is the key to our future. And so if we're talking about the fact that, not in this conversation, but the fact that they're building jails based on 4th and 5th grade, 3rd and 4th grade, matter of fact, test scores. Now we got to look at, well, what's the strategy? If the strategy is to make sure that the future is handed over to the caretakers of tomorrow, then who are those caretakers? And if it's only some of us and not all of us, we got to wake up to that
Right.
and say, well, what's really going on?
Yeah.
So this political process here, first of all, I am so excited. I'm still electrified, having come off the DNC stage, but it wasn't just about that. It was about being able to be a voice for the voiceless, being an ambassador for our pain, being able to tell that story and still show people that you can stand up for yourself. And therefore, I'm standing up for others. They're right there on stage with my brothers. And I'm like, yo, this is such a moment. How beautiful it is for the consideration to be, we all came from a woman. Our first teacher was a woman. Our first doctor was a woman. In many ways, our first love was a woman. We're looking for our mother when we think about who it is that we are trying to connect with and build community with. And here we are, we have this so beautiful, powerful moment of like, man, I think we said it before, right? Can't wait for November 5th to be here and over.
Yes.
Because the anxiety of where we are right now is like, you can cut you can cut it with a knife.
Yeah.
And to be honest, and I want to talk about this, Jasiri,
Yes.
as a rapper.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of support for Donald Trump from
Yes.
the hip hop community. And so I want to get some ideas from you of why you think that is. We saw 50 Cent say, though, that he didn't want to perform. He
Shout
was
out to 50.
offered.
Yes.
Yeah,
No doubt.
and because I do feel like people are they get a little check to do something
Right.
and to be on the stage. And like you said, some people feel like they aren't being spoken to. So when the campaign reaches out to you and it's like, hey, you want to come out and do this. We saw Nicky Jam just decided he no longer
Absolutely.
wants to support Trump.
Yes.
Trump also thought he was a beautiful woman.
Right,
you know,
right. Trump
before
don't know who the man.
He
yeah,
don't even
yeah.
know who's supporting him. But after what he said about Puerto Rico,
Right.
Now people are like, nope, we're not supporting that.
Right. And one of the dope things about the summit that we had that's actually going to be on Breakbeat Media's on YouTube November 1st is Fat Joe was there. And Fat Joe not only spoke about, what happened in Madison Square Garden, specifically racist comments directed towards Puerto Rico. He also spoke about like how they had hit him up and was like, Fat Joe, we need you to get Bad Bunny. And he was like, I really don't know Bad Bunny. And he was like, God brought Bad Bunny
Right, yeah.
because of this commentary. I honestly think, Angela Yee, if you're anybody like Black and Brown and you're voting for Donald Trump or putting any type of, it's one of two things. Either one, like you said, either you're somebody that there's a financial benefit for you to stand next to Donald Trump and you understand that like, yo, in this moment, this kind of white supremacist model, it's beneficial for me to be that one black person that they roll out to be the black face of white supremacy, or you're a victim of misinformation. Mm-hmm. And I really feel like many of these hip hop artists are victims of the algorithm and misinformation being directed. I mean, if you're in 2024 now and you're saying Kamala Harris ain't black, like that's not a fact. Yeah. So you're a victim of misinformation. What are you listening to? What's your algorithm? Bun B spoke to this at the summit because he talked about, Bun B was like, I think my generation is the least savvy when it comes to social media. Mm-hmm. And so you have some older brothers that are getting these things sent to them on social media and believe in it.
Well, I want to also say, even with Elon Musk owning Twitter,
yes.
I feel like, I'm like, why is all this stuff showing up on my feed,
yes.
like in support of Donald Trump and denouncing Kamala Harris? And I feel like there's, clearly he's a huge Trump supporter.
Yes.
And so I feel like things are being fed to us, and being propped up on that particular.
Absolutely. And now Elon Musk has to go to Philadelphia because the DA of Philadelphia sued Elon Musk because Elon Musk was trying to give $1 million a day to people that signed this petition. But if you say, the minute you say you have to be a registered voter to sign this petition, you're basically that's election interference. Mm-hmm. You're making that so now I have to go register to vote to get access to this potential $1 million. And so now he's getting sued. He got to show up in Pennsylvania and defend that. But you're absolutely right. So to me, this is why you see black and brown men, because they're being targeted. This is why we felt like, let's have this conversation. Let's bring brothers together. Let's bring people from different. It was dope to see like Corday next to Bun B and talk about the different generational divides and what we're seeing. But a lot of it is we're getting those algorithms. We're getting stuff sent to us. Right now, they said that Elon Musk, that same Elon Musk, had millions of dollars of ads on Facebook, and that these ads appeared to be in support of Kamala Harris, but was not. They were like fake news and fake ads, and Facebook said, oh, this didn't violate our policy. And so this goes back to that piece, and I know it's been said a lot during this election season, but if your vote didn't matter, why are billionaires like Elon Musk spending hundreds of millions of dollars to try to convince you either not to vote or to vote against your own self-interest? Clearly, it's because your vote means something. And so we should begin to take an educated understanding about it. The last thing I'll say is I was on a plane, Angela, and I sat next to this white guy, and he was like, Trump 2024. He tried to give me a fist bump.
No, he did not.
I said, nah, we ain't doing that. And I said, he said,
can't bump to that.
But this is what he said, right? He said, oh, can I show you a video? I said, no, I read. Like I read, I study, this is how I get my information. There's no video that you can show me, but this is how they're getting people. Let me show you this video. The video is not fact checked. The video has all type of inconsistencies and lies. I mean, every time Trump comes up, he's lying. He, just like you said, he was mad. Oh, y'all wasn't supposed to fact check me.
Right.
Why are you fact checking me?
It's crazy. You should want to get fact checked because look,
if you're telling the truth,
I don't think that any person could ever know every single thing and get everything right all the time. Fact check me. If I say something and it's not correct, I apologize. Fact check me.
But you're a person of integrity.
Yeah, that's
right.
Like
you're a person that you've always used your platform to have conversations like this so truth can come out. They're not interested in that. They're interested in taking power so it could benefit their billionaire class, and it could actually disenfranchise and take power and resources away from us. That's why it's important for us to get involved.
Mm-hmm. And I want to say this too, because I see the numbers are starting to change, but I saw the NAACP did a study to see what black men are supporting Trump, and they said the numbers are a lot higher than they were, last time when he ran for office and actually won. Right. And so what do we attribute that to? You think it's the false information? You think it's people are exhausted? They feel like they see what's happening and they don't think it's enough. A lot of things weren't able to get accomplished because we do have to hold accountable this presidency, and some of that was not their fault, right? Congress does play a role. It's not like the president can snap their fingers and make something happen. And Congress, as we know, was trying to make sure that things did get blocked from happening. So can we talk about that a little bit? Like,
I think it's many things. And again, like, I'm not up here acting like the Democratic Party has all the answers,
Right.
and they're going to come in and get elected and all of our problems are going to go away. There's a lot of issues in the Democratic Party as well, particularly about how you're speaking, who is speaking, and how we're speaking to the younger generation. It was Barack Obama, our former president Barack Obama, came to Pittsburgh and kind of set off this conversation around black men because of like, yo, brothers, you know, y'all not gonna vote for Kamala. And then people felt like it was this setup to say like, oh, if Kamala loses, we're gonna blame black men, right? So I do think that one, we do have to go directly to the folks, like to those young men directly. And this is one of the things our organization does, right? We're in the schools, we're in the communities, we're on the block, right? Speaking directly to young people. More people in these high political positions need to do that to see what actually is going on. And what happens is, I mean, think about it. If you're a young person, if you're in the Bronx, if you're in Harlem, if you're in Pittsburgh, and you're in a community that's impoverished, and you see $1 billion being raised for a presidential race. And you're looking around and saying, what could that $1 billion do to affect my community? Why doesn't my community get these resources? What's preventing, me from having the same education? And so that's a real legitimate question. And if you're going to tell me that politics can change that, then we need to see some real, like, tangible, show me tangibly how politics did that. I think what we were able to do in Pittsburgh, because we started to win these local races, was to show now we have this person in this positions, and we can show you, one, that we're winning, but also here are the policies that changed. One in Pittsburgh that we were able to change was that we were able to pass a law where the police cannot just stop you randomly for tinted windows if you have an expired registration, because it was these small traffic stops that were leading to actual police killings and police brutality, right? So we were able to show. So now I can go back to that community and say, here are some things that we actually did. Here, we have a brother, he's behind the camera, named Ime Alaquiva, but he sits on the Art Council of Pennsylvania, where they just were able to bring $600 million into downtown Pittsburgh. So we can say, hey, here's this brother that grew up in the same neighborhood as you,
right?
That looks like you, that's been through a lot of the struggles you've been through, and we're able to bring this money back into our community. Now it's our responsibility to make sure that that comes into our neighborhoods and that our communities benefit from those.
Yeah.
And Dr. Yusef, Salaam, we were talking before the cameras came on about how it feels like we do things the right way all the time, or at least we attempt to do that, right? We follow the rules.
Yeah.
And Republicans don't necessarily do that, as we can see. Even before the study, we were talking about the Stop the Steal campaign and how they're already getting things in place to make it look like this election was fraudulent in case he doesn't win on November 5th. And so I want to talk about that a little bit, because you said you invoke when Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high. But sometimes it might feel like, okay, well, maybe we do need to just say we have to get this done. And this is important enough that we don't have to go about it in the right way. Maybe we just make an order where we get this done, like an emergency type of order. But I just want to see what your thoughts are, because it feels like when the other side isn't playing fair and we're always trying to play fair, then how do you manage to progress? Because it's not an even playing field.
So what do they say? They say, don't get mad, organize.
Yes.
Some of our best leaders, in fact, one of the top leading leaders in the world said, our unity is more powerful than an atomic bomb. And I want folks to consider that, right? Those listening to this powerful discussion. If all we do is vote and we go back to our lives, nothing is going to change. But if we vote and we participate in the great scheme of living life, then what happens is that when they go low and we organize, their mechanisms will not affect us because we're organized. We have the best minds that are telling us and teaching us and showing us how we maneuver ourselves as equal chess players operating at a high level. And the problem is this. They say things like, you got to pay to play. They say things like, you know what? I know that this guy might not be X, Y, and Z, but you know what? I prefer to be inside the house.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to say the word, but they don't want to be in the field. So The fact that all of us right now have been Neo in the Matrix Part 1. There's some of us who are saying, I know this steak ain't real, but I want you to wipe my mind so that I can go on. Why? Because ignorance is $1 trillion industry. And so it's not enough to say, well, let's utilize their same tactics. My truth is that we didn't think about their tactics. We are good-natured people operating on a whole different level. And what is that level? We are fighting against spiritual wickedness in high and low places. As soon as we go to the dark side, we will always consider that when things get rough. We got to keep ourselves positively charged. We got to turn our light up, because let me tell you something. That's the only thing that kills darkness. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to say, I did all that I could do.
Right.
But it's even better for us to be organized to say we did all we could do. Because once we organize, it's more of us.
And progress can be slow. We always say that too. And so it's not like things happen overnight, but we can look at certain things 10 years ago where we're better off today than we were then, but maybe it took years to get to that point. And patience is a hard thing.
True. But I also think that's the power of hip hop, right? Because, if you're going to come at me with some negativity, or you're going to come at me with your speech, I'm going to match your energy. Right. If your energy towards me is, you calling me out of my name, well, I'm gonna call you out your name. And it was dope. One of the people that we had at the summit was Jasmine Crockett, who went viral because when Marjorie Taylor Greene said something to her, she's like, you bad built. You know what I'm saying? And so I love that spirit of today, our generation, we're gonna match your energy. If your energy towards us is you want to call us out, or you want to call us garbage, I mean, we're literally watching and that's why I thought it was powerful that we had a Black and Brown summit, because we're watching particularly immigrants being made as a scapegoat to all America's problems. Haitian immigrants, African immigrants, immigrants from Mexico, Venezuela are being targeted now. They're all the problems, and being called animals, being called, they're eating cats and dogs, being called savages. And so it's I'm not just going to sit by and allow you to talk that way about my brothers and sisters.
And only certain immigrants. Let's not forget, as they pointed out, Elon Musk himself was an immigrant working here illegally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And so that's my thing. Hip hop, we matching energy. We not having it. And we saw that particularly around the response to the Puerto Rican community around what, this racist comedian said at Madison Square Garden, where, Black and brown folks and Puerto Ricans and Dominicans, wait, hold up. No, you're not doing that. And Pennsylvania has a large Puerto Rican community. Let's organize and let's make sure, you want to talk about garbage? And I forget who it was. I think it was the sister Sunny on The View who said, November 5th is gonna be garbage day, gonna be trash day, and we're gonna take out the trash.
Dressed up as a garbage man.
Yes,
they're not talking about how his leg was dragging behind him though.
Did you see that?
I mean, that he keeps bringing up, right?
Yeah.
Well, he used to when Joe Biden was running against him. He would talk about his age. He would talk about he's not mentally competent, but he can't say those things. About Kamala Harris. But now you're the one that's in the position where
and won't release.
Here we are going high.
Yeah, and won't release your medical records. You're 78 years old. And we're saying we're hoping he don't win, but he would be the oldest president in American history if he wins. Won't release medical records, won't release tax records. We don't know. We saw that his son-in-law had this big deal with Saudi Arabia and got billions of dollars. Won't release these records. We don't know. There was a video that went viral that we found out was fake, where they were saying, they're tampering votes in Pennsylvania, and not only did they find out it was fake, they found it was actually produced by Russia.
Right.
This video, we don't know what those ties to Russia and Donald Trump are. And so it is that double standard where, again, when it was Biden, if Biden said, I'm not releasing my medical records, people be going crazy. You old, you sleepy. But here's this man that we all know he has orange makeup on. Your face don't look like that. We know this. It's the things we accept from Donald Trump. It's crazy.
Having rallies, just playing music and standing
and dancing.
There. Terribly.
Yes. And it's nobody, what we haven't heard people say is he's not mentally, he's mentally incompetent. He's not mentally fit. Let's do a cognitive test. You know what I'm saying? So that's the difference and that double standard. And so I think for us, the question as we came together as Black and brown men is there an issue because this is a woman?
I was going to say, do we hate women that much that we don't want to see one be president. People really feel like a woman, I've heard people say it, we can't have some women in office. Somebody the other day told, my friend was dating a guy, and he told her, she's like, I can't be with him anymore. He said, I'm not voting for some Indian lady. And I'm like, where is this coming from? And yeah, just so aside from all that, also Donald Trump is running, and he literally sexually assaulted and got convicted for sexually assaulting a woman.
Yes.
And we would allow this person to run that's how much we don't love
Right.
women.
34 felonies. I mean, this is so it was wild to hear, like, here's Donald Trump who said, like, I'm going to protect women whether they like it or not. And it's like, you're somebody, right. But this is a man who's been a threat to women his whole life. How many sexual assault charges do you have? Right. You were found like liable for sexual assault by a jury.
Grab her by the...
We heard it. It's on tape.
We all heard it.
I just go over to him and grab him. That's not protecting a woman. And so it has to be a double standard, because is it just because this is a white man? And so that's where the psychology of white supremacy comes into play.
That's right.
That because this is a white man that we've been seeing and we saw him on TV and we think he has $1 billion, we don't know because we don't have his returns, right?
Right.
And so we assume because he's this white guy who appears to be successful that he has the tools it takes to run this country, but somebody who actually came from the same environments that we've came from, worked her way up despite all of these obstacles they
Definitely
place.
more qualified.
Not even a question.
Because people would be like, I don't think she's qualified. I saw that video where they were interviewing black women who were literally saying, I don't think she's qualified.
Crazy.
I was like, this is wild to me.
Yes, super wild.
She's overly qualified.
Right.
Yeah.
She's exceptional. And we forgot, just like hip hop, right? Hip hop said what? Black man, black woman, black baby. Black man, white woman, black baby.
Yeah.
White man, black woman,
Yes.
black baby.
Yes.
White man, white woman, white baby.
Yes.
So the thing that is just so crazy that folks are looking at this and saying, hold on, wait, her hair is too straight. Listen, everywhere in the world, people of darker hue are catching hell.
Yes.
They're the ones with the foot of the oppressor on our neck. They're the ones who have been made and told to stay by the wayside, who've been pushed off of the sidewalk. That's not what we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
But the thing about it, too, is that I think truly this is not a race of anything other than people saying, you know what? I think we need to make sure that we go back to states' rights to own people. We go back to a space and time where slavery is the law of the land. They're already calling the inmate population in Alabama and Mississippi slaves. And so when we think about the 13th Amendment, right? And we think about the laws, as part of Section 2, Congress shall have the power to enforce this article through appropriate legislation. And then we look at the legislation. We look at how things are meted out in our communities. We say to ourselves, well, why do we have to fight and say, you know what, let's make it illegal for you to just stop me because I got dark tints.
Right.
Or for you to stop me. This is the same slave codes rearing its ugly head in another name. Right. And so all of this stuff is like, it's so clear. But I think what we're really, the real fight, like I said before, is against spiritual wickedness in high and low places. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people who wish they had that kind of money. Even the poor white people. I saw one the other day right near City Hall. He walking down the block, his shoe wasn't even, he was like dragging his foot, vote for Trump. And I said, my goodness. But they see themselves as, well, at least I ain't black.
Right.
And I did want to say this specifically for men, right? Because particularly we're talking about protecting women, right? That's the conversation.
Oh my goodness, yes.
With what happened with Roe v. Wade, right? We've seen women die. We just heard about a story about a woman in Texas who, because of the doctor's fear of operating on her as she was miscarriaging, she died.
He said they had to have the heart stop for the baby before they could do anything. And they could have saved her life.
Absolutely. So if we're talking about protecting the women, because like you said, you got a mom, you got a sister, you got an aunt. Like if we're really talking about protecting the women in our lives, and we understand what the attack on reproductive rights, what that really means specifically to black and brown people in our communities, then we don't have a choice to sit this out. And it's not really a choice on who to vote for, because why would you want laws that are going to prevent
Right.
the women in your life from making the choices with their bodies that they should be allowed to make themselves.
That's right.
The
That's
doctors
right.
are scared that they're going to end up being prosecuted
Right.
for saving a woman's
It's
life.
crazy.
And lastly, I want to ask
My
you, Dr. Yusef Salaam, how personal is this for you because of your own experience of having to have dealt with, from a very young age, the hatred from Donald Trump?
This is perhaps the fight of my lifetime. I've been fighting against Donald Trump for 35 years, going on 36 years now. And when I think about all that's at stake, it's not enough for, think about this. Right after the presidential debate, he came down to the spin room floor. I was there. And I tried to engage him. And I said, I'm Yusef Salaam, one of the exonerated 5. He caught wind of me. He turned around and you know what he said? He said, oh, you're with me. I said, what? I said, oh, no. I mean, literally, I was like, I was so shocked. No, I'm not with you.
He needs a competency
I'm one of the
test.
exonerated 5.
Right.
Like,
Do you
how could I
understand
be
what that
with
means?
you?
He might not know what exonerated means.
Well, yes, right. But see, the thing about it is this. Here's a person who's had me in his crosshairs. Here's a person who, like I said before, that ad wasn't just an ad. That ad was a whisper into the darkest enclaves of society for them to come into our homes, drag us from our beds, kill us. What is this man saying? I want to give law enforcement writ large immunity. That's okay for the good actors. But the bad actors, those who shoot Sonia Massey in the face or Breonna Taylor down, those who would pull up on a Tamir Rice and shoot him without even asking questions, right? Mm-hmm. The young brother Rose in Pittsburgh. Antoine Rose. All of these things, these examples are right out there, but you know what they look at? They look at this stuff and say, these are anomalies. This is as American as apple pie. Mm-hmm. At 15 years of age, I had to learn how to be strong. I had to grow up very, very fast. All of my brothers had to. And the truth of the matter is that because of that experience, I look at it as a gift from God. Being able to say, you know what? I have to be able to speak truth to power. I don't know what's going to happen later, but guess what? We are now in the future of myself. At 15, 35 years later, being a person who was rejected, then selected, and now elected to govern inside of city council for the same district that they took us from. Nobody would be mad and say, you know what, we understand if you don't want to run. But I had to come back to the scene of the crime, carrying buckets of water to let us know how we have to fight, because we got to fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not telling people, no, don't fight, right? Even
Right.
with hip hop, we got to fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? That don't mean that if you smack me and I see you getting ready to raise your hand again, I can't figure out how to maneuver myself and make sure
Absolutely.
you don't smack me again.
Absolutely.
Right? But that's the thing. We can't just be in a situation where we say, damn, that's messed up that happened to him. You look around.
Yeah.
We represent the microcosm of the macrocosm of cases just like ours. There's so many untold stories.
Right.
Ours went from being infamous to famous. And I've been fighting against him as the representative of white supremacy, white male dominance, of evil, of the modern day Klan. I've been fighting against him and what he represents for 35 years.
Yes.
That's what this is about.
Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. I'm so glad you guys came here today to sit with us. Again, voting, Election Day is on November 5th. It's on Tuesday. It is your last opportunity to vote. Please, guys, make sure you participate in this and do the right thing.
Can I say this too?
Please.
Non-participation is participation.
Right.
And if I could just say, if you want information on November 1st, you know, us.
That's right.
A summit on Black and Brown Men in the Vote will be airing on Breakbeat Media on YouTube. Viola Davis, Fat Joe, Corday, Bun B, Yusef Salaam, Desmond Meade, who
Method Man and Redman.
Method Man and Redman came actually earlier. Like last Sunday, we had Meth, we had Red, we had Lupe, we had Common. Again, like for us, we're bringing the spirit of hip hop to Pittsburgh, and we motivating the people. So yeah, Meth, Red, Lupe, Common, So tune in November 1st. Listen to what these black and brown men and black women got to say.
You know who else
'Cause it's
was there,
powerful.
though?
Who?
That brother Jasiri.
Oh, yeah, I was there too.
They not like us.
Come
The
on.
Summit on Black and Brown Men and the Vote. Make sure y'all check it out on Breakbeat and on YouTube. All right. It's way up.
Oh.